Okay, I would like to call this meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Heisel?
Here.
Mrs. Stockton?
Here.
Mr. Toure?
Here.
Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall?
Here, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we will open our floor for public comments. First, we have Mr. Tom Verbeck commenting on Tom Heisel and Mary Stockton.
My name is Tom Verbeck. I served on the Board of Education.
Next, Susan Duran, board retirees and newly elected members. Thank you. Next, we have Mary Bragg, board members' thank yous and welcomes. Thank you. Next, Doris Harmon Warren. Congrats to the board members. Next, we have Keith Griffin. Congratulations to Mr. Brown. Thank you. Next, we have Cynthia Hudson. Congratulate Mr. Brown and thanking the board.
Good evening, board and viewing audience. My name is Cynthia Hudson. I just wanted to congratulate all the new incumbents. Great job, Maurice Brown. I'm glad you're back, and I know you'll continue to do a wonderful job. And for the ones that's outgoing, thank you for the hard work that you put into it while you served on the board. And I just want to say to the board, I hope, we have 4 communities, and I hope there's unity amongst the board.
Thank you. That concludes our public comment. At this time, we do want to take the time to recognize our outgoing board members. Superintendent Cunningham.
Good evening. I have a plaque here that we have for our outgoing board members, and it's just a small token of our appreciation of the hard work that they've done over the years. I'm going to read the plaque real quickly, and then I'm going to present it to the board members. In recognition, Mary Stockton, May 2007 to May 2015, 8 years, as a Board of Education member for your service and commitment to the students, staff, and communities of Crete, Monee, District 201U. Thank you so much. Again, a small gift in appreciation. In recognition of Mr. Tom Heisel, September 2004 to May 2015. How many years is that? Is that 11 or 12? 11 and a half. As a board member of as a Board of Education member for your service and commitment to the students, staff, and communities of Crete Monee School District 201U. Thank you so much.
We do want to get a photo with all of the board members and our outgoing board members, but prior to doing that, I want to give our board members a chance to respond to 2 of our board members leaving. Mr. Anderson.
I had already
had a conversation with both board members to let them know that I really appreciated them and was going to miss them. And I know I appreciate Mr. Heisel. He's always been the one sitting to my left since I became a board member. And I remember one of our very first meetings that we had to vote on something, and I can't remember exactly what the vote was about, but I knew that it was something that was pressing to me, and Mr. Heisel and myself, we both voted differently. We didn't vote the same, but he could tell that it was a pressing issue for me. So after the meeting, he came to me and said, "Hey, listen, it's not that serious. It's one way or the other, but don't take it as serious as you've been taking it." And I've taken that counsel to heart. But I appreciate both of you all the hard work, all the commitment that you all have put into our community. The fact that I feel like two family members are getting ready to go off and ride off into the sunset. I just want to let you all know from my mouth to your ear, I appreciate the service that you all have put into this community, and you will be missed.
Mr. Turek.
I'd like to wish good luck and good health and many, many years of happiness to both of you, and thank you very much for all the support you've done for our community and our children, and God bless you both.
Mr. Brown.
Yeah, I actually want to say congratulations to Tom and Mary as well. I actually called Tom Mr. Springfield. And again, he's the journeyman on this board, and he brought a lot of knowledge and wisdom to this board. And one thing I learned about Tom, him and I had a couple differences, but we never went at it with boxing gloves. And he let me know real quick he wasn't a hugger like me. He'd be the first to extend his hand and shake his hand, but he was not going to hug you. So Tom, enjoy life. Enjoy it. You going through Vietnam and to come on this board, I don't know which one is worse. But thank you, Tom. Thank you. And with Mary, I think Mary's the only one I knew prior to me coming on the board. And I actually ran against Mary in 2007, and she kicked my behind, even though I ran in the wrong district. And Mary, you are, and I'm looking to see that person on this board. Again, you are the neutralizer of this board. You keep people behind closed doors. Your mild demeanor, your attitude, your personality, and what you bring to the board, what you brought to the board, it means a lot. And to see your child and my child on the baseball field 20 years ago, that means a lot to me to see you go. I'm crying in the inside. Thank you, Mary, and thank you, Tom.
So I'll start with the lady first. Met you, Mary, with your beautiful daughter on the soccer field, one of my favorite soccer students. And you're a great mom, certainly a great colleague on this board, and definitely, as Mr. Brown indicated, a source of how do you say it? A source of mediocre. You kept everything even keel. Like that you were welcoming. That was not necessarily the case, and you were extremely welcoming. I want to thank you for that. Through the years, you have shown great precision in your decisions. I think Mr. Anderson spoke of struggling with decisions. You know, you made a decision and kind of just stuck with it. So you didn't waver much. It was yes or no, and that was it. So that's a hard place to be, but I think you did it well. Tom, I think I'm going to say the same thing as Maurice. Not necessarily always the easiest person to get along with, but certainly straightforward, definitely diligent in your task. And I, too, call you Mr. Springfield. Thank you for your wisdom and for the dedication that you put in, even when you said after several meetings, I'm getting out of here. Appreciate you giving us kind of an alarm clock when we needed to get out of a meeting. So thank you for your wisdom again and for your years of service. Wish you both, Mary, good luck, good speed in your every endeavor. Thanks.
To Mary, I've had the pleasure of sitting next to you and following in your footsteps as the secretary, and you were more than welcome with, more than open to helping me learn that role and being there for me as a new board member coming on, and I appreciate everything that you've done for us and this school board. And there are a lot of very strong personalities, I'll say, on this board, and you are that medium, and that's appreciative to be able to have you to contribute in that manner. So thank you for everything, and thank you to Dave, somewhere, who's been supportive along with you. So we thank you for offering yourself as well as your family to the board. Tom, I can't see you. I've also sat next to Tom on the board. So anybody that sat next to Tom, the humor that you all hear is not half of what you hear sitting next to Tom Heisel in the board meetings. And I agree with my colleagues and the wisdom that you've brought to this board, and always willing to lend information and help and give as much wisdom and thought as you can, and always down in Springfield going to bat for us. And I thank you for everything that you've given to this school board and all the years that you have. We really appreciate it. Board members, please go to the front. Let's take a photo. At this time, we'd like to give Mrs. Stockton and Mr. Heisel a chance to make any comments they would like to make. Mrs. Stockton.
Well, as everybody knows, I'm a woman of few words. I pretty much just say it in a small sentence and it's over. But I want to say I enjoyed working with, I started working with Tom Verbeck. I want to acknowledge his nice words for me, and I started working with him and Tom Heisel on the board. And after that, I started working with all of you, and I really haven't, it's been tough, but I've enjoyed working with all of you, and I want to say good luck into the future, and
Mr. Cunningham. One of my best things I think that I've done as a school board member is to hire you. And I want to hopefully see you keep this district on a good level. And I hope all of you, the new board members and all that are going to come up here, I hope you guys all work together very well and keep this district running. Thanks for letting me work for the 8 years I have, and I'm done.
I'm not used to this. I haven't had that many people say that many nice things about me in my entire life. Being on the board for 11 and a half years, it's been an experience. And I'm not going to say it was 100% enjoyable. We had some bad nights. And like Kim said, you know, when I said, I'm getting out of here. Well, you ain't coming for a 1 hour board meeting at 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, I'm getting out of here. You know, it's time to go home and get loaded. Right, Milt? But I got to tell you, it's this ends 43 years in education.
Wow. Wow.
And it's been a great ride. And you know, when I came in, I did it because I thought I wanted to teach, you know, I wanted to work with young people, and I went into administration. Then I went into working for the state, which is a deal in itself. And later on, you know, with going to Springfield and everything, what I found was a lot of people had different ideas, but in the end, it's all for the kids. And one of the things that as a board member that you incoming board members have got to remember, every morning you got 5,000 kids coming through the doors. They need to be taught. You're going to make decisions that are going to be unpopular with people. My whole attitude about that is too bad. Okay? I'm worried about 5,000 kids. I'm not worried about next election. And with some of the emails I've gotten, I've proven it. So, but I think it's been a real experience, and I hope that in those 43 years and the 11 and a half on this board that I have done some good for some of those kids, because they're our future. And if you think of it for no other reason, remember, they have to be productive citizens so that they can make sure that we collect our pensions. Thank you.
Thank you to you both. At this time, we'd like to adjourn our meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn? Signed.
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Stockton, second by Mr. Heisel. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Okay, the old board is officially adjourned.
That means me.
Okay, at this time, may I have a motion to move Okay, at this time, I would like to bring forward our new board members, Ms. Janine Galbraith and Ms. Jennifer Gasparo. Okay, we do need to make a change to our agenda. So may I have a motion, first of all, to the roll call. Secretary, please call the roll of the new board. Okay. Can I have a motion to move agenda item 8D before agenda item 8A?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sanders.
Second.
Second by Mr. Anderson. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Thank you. At this time, we will administer the oath of office to our newly elected board members. May I have all newly elected board members come to the front of the room? Thank you.
Please raise your right hand. I will say I, and you have to insert your name and then say do solemnly affirm. Okay? So repeat after me. I do solemnly affirm that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of member of the Board of Education of Crete Monee School District in accordance with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and the laws of the State of Illinois to the best of my ability. I further affirm that I shall respect taxpayer interests by serving as a faithful protector of the school district's assets. I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members and others who seek a hearing before the board, while respecting the privacy of students and employees. I shall recognize that a board member has no legal authority as an individual, and that decisions can be made only by a majority vote at a public board meeting. And I shall abide by majority decisions of the board while retaining the right to seek changes and such decisions through ethical and constructive channels. You are all officially seated as board members.
Got me. All right. Okay, let's do it. Next. Oh, that's all right. I could use it.
Okay.
Let's move it.
Okay, now we will have the roll call of the new Board of Education. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mrs. Galbraith? Here. Mrs. Gasparo?
Here.
And Mr. Teray?
Here.
Secretary's aye, and Dr. Hall?
Here. Thank you. At this time, we do need to elect a president pro tem for the purpose of electing our executive board. I am asking the board to appoint Mr. Brown as president pro tem. We also need to appoint a secretary pro tem and Mrs. Sanders. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Thank you.
As President Pro Tem, I would like a nomination for the new president of this board.
I nominate Dr. Nakia Hall as president.
Dr. Nakia Hall, one nomination.
Mike Teray.
Mike Teray. Any other nominations? Okay, by a show of hands, for the president of the school board for Crete 201U, Dr. Hall, can we have a show of hands?
Sir, I believe it has to be a voice vote.
Voice vote?
No, it doesn't have to be a voice. It could be either one.
Okay, so people raise your hands again.
Is it better for you to hear?
It would be better just so I can record the names.
Okay, so what do you need said?
I just need that President Pro Tem Heisel requested nominations.
Mr. Brown?
Heisel?
Sorry, I did say Heisel in my minutes from 2 years ago. Brown and President Pro Tem Brown called for the vote for those in favor of Dr. Hall, those in favor of Mr. Strait.
Okay. So those in favor. So the secretary needs to call because you have hands up, so that tells you who's voting. So
Right, but we don't have a Secretary Pro Tem yet.
we said Kim Sanders, pro tem.
Okay, very good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Then
Okay.
she can call the vote.
Okay.
Secretary Pro Tem, please call the roll.
Okay.
Dr. Sanders?
Okay, so Mr. Teray?
No.
Oh,
Okay.
Dr. Hall, sorry. All right.
Wait, what is your answer no to? What do
We're
you,
voting yes or no?
We're taking a vote for the president right now for Dr. Hall. Those in favor and those who's not.
okay, so yours was no, right,
Yeah,
Mr. Teray?
not in favor.
Okay. And then next is Ms. Gasparo?
No.
And next, Ms. Galbraith?
No.
Next, Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Secretary's yes. Dr. Hall? Can't
Yes.
vote for yourself. Okay.
Okay, so right at this point, it looks like, we take it over, it look like we need a vote for Mr. Terry.
The motion carries for Dr. Hall.
Yeah, so at this time, I'd like to have a vote for the president for Crete Monee 201U School District for Mr. Mike Teray. Secretary Pro Tem, please call roll.
Okay. Mr. Teray?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Dr. Hall, I'm sorry.
No.
Ms. Gasparo?
Yes.
Mrs. Galbraith?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Nay.
Mr. Anderson?
Nay.
Secretary's nay. Dr. Hall?
I said no.
You said no already? I called you early and I never do that? Okay, fine.
But you declare me as the president.
On a vote of 4-3 in favor of Dr. Hall being president of Crete Monee School District 201U. Turn it over to Dr. Hall.
Thank you. Thank you. May I have nominations for vice president?
I nominate Mike Teray for vice president.
Are there any other nominations?
I nominate Maurice Brown.
Are there any further nominations? Okay, Secretary, please call the roll for Mike Teray as vice president.
Okay, and for Mr. Teray, Dr. Hall,
No.
Mrs. Gasparo,
Yes.
Ms. Galbraith,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Nay.
Mr. Anderson,
Nay.
Secretary's aye, nay, and Mr. Teray.
Yes.
Dr. Hall? Oh, we got me
I
right.
did you early. You're not used to me now.
Right. We're both being confused. Okay. May I have a roll call for Mr. Brown for vice president?
All right, Mr. Anderson.
Aye.
Mr. Brown, what say you?
Aye.
Mrs. Galbraith?
Nay.
Mrs. Gasparo?
Nay.
And Mr. Teray?
Nay.
Dr. Hall?
Yes.
And Secretary's yes. Oh, sorry. Wait a minute. Who are we doing?
Mr. Brown.
Yes, so I said yes. Okay.
As it stands with a vote of 4-3, Mr. Brown is the vice president. May I have nominations for secretary?
I nominate myself.
We have a nomination of Mike Teray. Any further nominations for secretary?
I nominate Kimberly Sanders.
Kimberly Sanders. Any further nominations? Okay, nominations are now closed. Secretary, please call the roll for secretary for Mr. Mike Teray.
Mr. Teray?
Yes.
Dr. Hall?
No.
Mrs. Gasparo?
Yes.
Mrs. Galbraith?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Nay.
Mr. Anderson?
Nay.
And the Secretary's aye, yes.
Mr. Teray?
I say yay for me, right?
You're doing correct.
Oh, for no. I didn't vote for Mike Teray, I voted for me, but I understand I made an error. And my answer is nay.
Can you just restate all of the votes?
Okay.
Thank you. For Mr. Teray.
Mr. Teray. Mr. Teray said yes. I said no. Dr. Hall said no. Mrs. Gasparo said yes. Mrs. Galbraith said yes. Mr. Brown said no. Mr. Anderson said no.
Got it.
Okay?
Okay. Please call the roll for Kimberly Sanders for secretary.
Mr. Teray,
No.
Dr. Hall,
Yes.
Mrs. Gasparo,
No.
and Mrs. Galbraith,
No.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Okay. And Secretary's aye. Yes.
Okay. As it stands, for secretary with 4 votes, Mrs. Sanders, Kim Sanders. At this time, the president appoints the committee chairs as well as the board acknowledges committee members. For Finance Committee, the chair is Mr. Maurice Brown. Do we have any board members interested in being on the Finance Committee?
I would like to be on the Finance Committee.
We have Jennifer Gasparo as committee member,
I would also like to be on that committee.
Mr. Mike Teray as committee member,
I'll retain my right to stay on the Finance Committee.
Mrs. Sanders as committee member. Any further board members on the Finance Committee? Okay, moving forward to Personnel Committee. Chair is myself. Any board members would like to be on the Personnel Committee?
I would like to be.
Mr. Teray as a committee member.
I would like to be also.
Mr. Anderson as committee member.
I would like to be.
Mrs. Galbraith as Personnel Committee member. Any further board members for Personnel Committee? Okay, moving on to Policy Committee. Mrs. Kim Sanders is the chair of Policy Committee. Any board members would like to be on the Policy Committee?
I would like to be.
Mr. Brown as a member of the Policy Committee.
I would like to be.
Mrs. Galbraith as a member of Policy Committee. Any further board members?
I think I'll go on that too.
Okay, Mr. Teray, member of Policy Committee. Education Committee Chair, Mr. Edward Anderson. Any board members would like to be on the Education Committee?
I would
will.
like to be on that committee.
And as well as I.
Mrs. Gasparo as committee member. Mrs. Sanders as committee member. I would also like to be a member on the Education Committee. Any other board members?
Okay. I'm wore out, but yes, I'll take a back seat, way back.
Mr. Brown as committee member. Okay, as speed representative, I would like to appoint Jennifer Gasparo. As representative, Mrs. Gasparo, do you accept the appointment?
I accept.
Thank you. As IASB representative, this is still open. Are there any volunteers for this position?
I would like to nominate Tom Heisel. That constitutes going down to Springfield. So let him know when you see him.
IASB representative represents the school board at IASB functions.
You and Tom did.
I have been the representative. If no one else will take it, I will retain it.
How much travel? I got too much surgery.
Okay, I'll retain as IASB representative. Okay, at this time, we do need to set the 2015-16 Board of Education meeting dates. We have been meeting on the third Tuesday of each month.
Works for me.
Okay. So at this time, we do need to vote on whether to retain the third Tuesday of each month as board meeting dates. Secretary, please call the roll. Oh, I'm sorry.
I motion.
Can I have a motion?
I motion that we retain the third Tuesday for our regular board meetings.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Brown and second by Mr. Anderson. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mrs. Goldbreath? Aye. Mrs. Gasparo?
Aye.
Mr. Toure?
Aye.
Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall?
Aye. Thank you. Here, our new board members, you will be receiving at this time from Mrs. Tobin information pertaining to new board member training. Also, our board member orientation date has been set for June 8th at 12:30 p.m. As I've shared with our new board members, it is extremely important to go to training so that you can get the very basics of being a school board member. There's training that's also a mandate, and you should have gotten that information from Will County's office. Does that come in? Terry, is that in the packet, the mandated trainings? Okay, so it's in your packet. And like I've said to Mrs. Gasparo and Mrs. Galbraith, I'd be more than willing to attend those with them as the board president. And if you have any,
time for the June 8th meeting?
12:30. All board members are welcome to attend the new board member training. Orientation. At the orientation, we will have our superintendent, our assistant superintendents, as well as our directors of our departments in the school district in attendance, and they will give you an overview of their departments and answer any questions that you have.
You said 12 or 12:30?
12:30. Okay, do we have any old business to attend to? New business? May I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Brown,
Second.
second by Mr. Toure. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. We are adjourned. Thank you.
All the talk of, can you see? Yeah.